So here I am, John Joshua Bilonia from ECE21 here to execute this experiment number 3 variables. So we have here the situation, the story that John had 3 apples, Mary had 5 apples, and Adam had 6 apples. I've been tasked to create the variables John, Mary, and Adam and assign to them the number of apples that they have possessed and print those names in just one line with separation of comma. So as you can see here, I have created the code. Let's try to execute it. And yes, we have the names in order, separated by a comma. But we could also use, the separation function with a comma. So then I've been tasked to add these values and place that value of the variable to the variable of this total apples. Okay, so let's add the values of these 3 variables and assign it to the variable total apples and print the total apples and see if we have the right answer. Yeah, so 3 plus 5 is equals to 8, 8 plus 6 equals to 14. Then we've been tasked to print the string and an integer together, namely this line here, total number of apples, then we indicate the total number of apples. So we have already this line here. Of course, we cannot print the string and the integer or the float together. We just indicate that the string is string and then we separate it with a comma, a space in the output, and then let's put the integer or float value in there. So total number of apples, colon 14. Okay, so moving on to the next scenario. Okay, so for this code, so we are tasked to convert kilometers to miles and miles to kilometers using the scale of 1 mile is approximately 1.61 kilometers. So we have to put my code in here with the triple hashtags and execute it. So here we have it. Let's first print the miles to kilometers conversion. So we can see here that 7.38 miles is 11.88 kilometers. And in the expected output, we also have that 7.38 miles is 11.88 kilometers. Now for the second one, we should be expecting 12.25 kilometers is 7.61 miles. So would it be? So we have it, 12.25 kilometers is 7.61 miles. The same here. Okay, so for the conclusion, when printing variables, the latest assigned value for that variable will appear. To round floats in certain decimal places, we use the round command, where inside, let's type the code to evaluate or the function to do, followed by a comma, then the number of decimal places desired. So this was shown in the code here where the variable kilometers to miles was rounded off with this round command to 2 decimal places. And as we could see, here in the expected output, the output was both in 2 decimal places each. So recommendation, when naming variables, name it the most obvious way for you to comprehend while make it significantly shorter. For example, for the code here of conversion of kilometers to miles, I have rewritten it such a way that it is still understandable, can be comprehended by other people, but also at the same time, it is quite short and efficient. So we have rewritten it as follows. So kilometers was abbreviated as km, miles as mi, then miles to kilometers to mi to km, then kilometers to miles to km to mi. Then, as you can see, this is significantly shorter than here, right? So as we write codes, we just don't simply write codes for formality or misspell the word in full spelling, but we can abbreviate it in our common sense so that we could comprehend it without even comments. So, but in here we have a note here. If you doubt that you will forget what the variable is for, just put a comment beside the code where you assigned a value for it. So that's all for here in experiment 3, variables.